My wife's behavior is absolutely insane and I don't know how to deal with it. My wife and I went to marriage counseling to deal with potentially closing the relationship back up. Even though it was our very first session, my wife took it as an opportunity to lay it all out, it seems. She confessed that this group of friends made her wonder if she had missed her chance because she was committed to her first boyfriend and had no other experiences, that she never had the same adventures some of these supposedly amazing women had. The therapist pointed out that this can be and often is detrimental to a marriage due to the difference in mindset. My wife seemed to agree, then added that after the new manager started approaching her, some of these friends encouraged her to see where it goes, that this was a chance for her to explore or discover herself. She states she felt guilty, so she never did anything physical until one of the divorced beluga-sized friends in the group suggested an open marriage as a loophole. She told her that some couples come out stronger because of it. So after regrettably convincing me to open up the marriage, her so-called adventure began. It was intoxicating and blinding but lacked real substance, not like the kind we built over the years, and she started to question her reasons for doing this. She said she could see the hurt in my eyes but told herself this was an adventure. She had a chance to have an amazing experience, so the gravity of it all never happened until she noticed a change in me. At first she assumed that because I went on dates, I would gradually accept her situation and be okay with it, but that all changed when my lover became a constant appearance in my adventure. Apparently I started to smile again for no reason and my eyes would light up when I would get a text message or when I cheerfully left the room to answer a call. She said she suddenly felt a pit in her stomach and started to get mini panic attacks. For no reason. She went to her friends for advice again, but they said it was a normal reaction for me to have during the adventure. When the same divorced beluga who suggested this in the first place said, "It looks like his lover makes him happy," is when the reality of it all finally dawned on her, and the very real possibility that another woman and not his wife gave him joy almost made her pass out. She realized how ridiculous this all was and begged them to help her win me back, but they just told her if she couldn't deal with it, why did she open her marriage in the first place? She knew then and there that these people were toxic, a threat to our marriage, and the life we built. Hence she's been on a mission to win me back by any means necessary. I on the other hand didn't share much, but I did let the counselor know about the situation on my side with my lover still being in the picture. To this, my counselor said no resolution could ever be reached with my lover still in the picture, and suggested we book another appointment after tomorrow. The counselor did say it was unusual for someone to stay with their first this long and gave the impression that any storm can be weathered. Our next session is tomorrow. I kicked my wife out for trying to force my daughter to do things that make her uncomfortable. I am a father to my daughter Emma. My first wife and I were middle school sweethearts. Emma was a happy accident and we were thrilled to be parents to her. But my wife died while giving birth to her. I remarried in a year and a half to my second wife Samantha. She was also struggling raising her son Tom due to financial difficulties. It was a marriage of convenience and we were very open about that. She would be a stay-at-home raising both kids while I will financially provide for them. Samantha always gave her son preferential treatment emotionally, which I never took issue with. After all, she was my daughter, not hers. But I always provided equally for both of them because I always felt obligated to be fair with both of them. There were not any major issues growing up. Both kids maintained a healthy relationship with each other while maintaining a bit of distance. My first wife and I both had an insurance policy. It was paid out when she died. For some reason, we once randomly talked about what we would do with money if one of us passed away. We both decided it would go to our kids, and if we didn't have a kid, then the surviving spouse should travel the world. I have kept that money in a trust that has grown over 17 years and has been yielding significant profits, and now, it's quite a bit of money. I have never borrowed even a penny from it because it belongs to my daughter and I am just a guardian. This year both kids applied to colleges and Emma got into the Ivy League with a full scholarship. Our plan was if Emma did not get a scholarship, I would pay her tuition with the trust. Tom also applied to Ivy League and got admission but without scholarship. He and I both discussed our options and I told her that I can help him with living expenses while he pursues his studies. But I can't afford the tuition without getting a massive hit. He was understanding and said that he will take out a loan for it. It was settled then. Or at least, I thought it was. One night Samantha asked me if I can pay his son's tuition with the payout. She knows the width of that policy. I was startled for a second. But I said I will think about it. I delayed it because I wanted to ask Emma whether she wanted to help Tom out because I have always let her make decisions of her own as I feel it's the important part of parenting. I wanted to ask her alone without Samantha present because Samantha can be a bit pushy and I wanted Emma to make decisions on her own without any pressure because she is the sweetest kid who would rather be hurt than hurt anyone else. I explained the whole thing to my daughter and asked what she wanted to do. She asked me what I think she should do and I told her that I have no opinion, but no matter what decision she makes, it will not change anything between us. She will always be my world. She told me that she wanted to travel the world with me as her mom wanted, with half of the money and invest the rest so she can have extra cash flow. She asked me for the weekend to think about it, which I was happy to give her. On the weekend, she texted me to come into her room. She asked me to explain the profit yields, the amount and everything related to the amount, which I did. After contemplating, she decided that she can pay for half of Tom's tuition while touring the world and maintaining the healthy cash flow. I stressed on her that if she does not want to do it, she does not have to. Tom is not her responsibility. But she said she wanted to help her brother out. During a family meeting, she told it to Tom in front of Samantha and me. Tom teared up and hugged her and was very grateful. I noticed Samantha was a bit off, but I ignored it. We all went out for dinner. In bed, Samantha asked me who decided about Tom's tuition. I told her about the whole situation. Samantha was shocked for whatever reason. She said that I didn't have to ask Emma and could have made the decision on my own as it was not Emma's money. I told her in plain words that she does not get a say in that since it was decided between me and Emma's mother what we will do with the money. Then she said why didn't I involve her during the discussions with Emma. And by this time, I was at the edge and I told her because it was none of her damn business. She said that she would talk to Emma and Emma can pay for her brother's full tuition and traveling the world is not necessary. I calmly yet firmly told her that she would not say a word to Emma about this and this matter is closed. After a week, I was out with my colleagues when I received a text from Tom that I should come home immediately. I rushed home. I was home in 10 minutes. Samantha was shouting at Emma how she should pay for Tom's tuition and Emma was crying. Tom was trying to calm her mother down and to get her to shut up but to no avail. I told my wife to shut up and go to the bedroom as politely as I could because I did not want to insult her in front of Tom because after all, she was his mother. I picked Emma up and was taking her to her bedroom when I heard Samantha yell, "You were always a monster. You unalived your mother while coming into this world." And this was the end point. I told Samantha that I am going out and I will come back in 2 days. She better be gone when I come back. I took Emma with me and asked Tom if he wanted to come with us. Tom was reluctant but eventually came with us. I drove them to a nearby hill town and got us checked in. Emma was crying all the way and I let her after a few initial tries to calm her down. By next morning, we met at breakfast. Emma's eyes were swollen with crying. And Tom basically got to his knees and apologized for his mother's behavior. Emma told him that it was not his fault. We three had a heart-to-heart discussion once Emma and I had talked in privacy where Emma was reassured that she wasn't responsible for anything. Emma will still be paying half of Tom's tuition. I also talked to Tom and told him that I would be divorcing her mother and there is no turning back from that. But that doesn't have to change my relationship with him unless he thinks otherwise. He asked me to consider my decision and I asked him if what I was doing was unfair. He said no and he understood. By the time we got home, my parents were already there and Samantha was gone. My parents asked about what happened and apparently, Samantha had fed them half a story and told them the whole tale. They were furious but tried to lower the temperature and asked if there is any way to make amends. I told them that my decision is final. I have served Samantha with papers. Date 2. My wife's behavior is absolutely insane and I don't know how to deal with it. I have since moved into my brother's apartment. During our second session of counseling, I asked my wife some hard questions. 1. If she was sure nothing physical happened before the opening of the marriage? She looked towards the ground and begged me not to make her say it. She said if she said it then it would destroy us but after some pushing she shared it. She had got on her knees in his office and gave him neck. I was absolutely floored by this and she started shaking and hyperventilating. Snot even began flowing from her nostrils as she cried and apologized to me. At this point even the counselor was taken aback and had a look of disbelief. My wife got on her knees and hugged my legs saying how sorry she was. I then asked her what really changed her view of him. She said after she started pulling back from the group as a whole, his behavior towards her changed. Then one evening as she was leaving a meeting she passed his office and heard him speaking about her to another male colleague. He said he was surprised at how easy it was to get her and how she is living proof that you can't trust the quiet ones. When the colleague asked if he actually fancied her his response was that she was a pleasant distraction, and that he had absolutely no intention of breaking up with his fiancée. He even added that this was simply to get it out of his system because the only woman who has ever understood him was his fiancée and he didn't want to break up with her. He also mentioned how he felt bad for me but, you snooze you lose. My wife, realizing that she was nothing more than a piece of meat to this man, added by the fact that she betrayed me for a cheap thrill, actually started contemplating SSI. She said she left her workplace and vomited in the parking lot. I then asked her if she loved him and if she stopped loving me. She looked me dead in the eye through tears and said she never stopped loving me, and that he was just something different. She thought it was love but now realizes how foolish that was. She squeezed my arm with surprising strength and said she knows she messed up but she misses us. She says she misses the connection we had before all this. She even suggested we move away and start fresh, just the two of us, just as it was meant to be. I then told her it wouldn't be fair to my lover and that I need time away from her to process all of this. It was like she had a meltdown at those words. She started sobbing harder and saying incoherent things. She held on to me as if I was going to disappear. It took some time for both me and the counselor to calm her down. The counselor managed to convince her that maybe time apart could help us heal. When we got home I began to pack. My wife got a video call from her laptop. It was one of her former friends in tears. It turns out that after my wife resigned, this friend and the manager began a fling of their own, but apparently she had a pregnancy scare which caused him to basically turn into Dr. Hyde and Mr. Jekyll. To make matters worse she had a boyfriend whom she apparently could see a future with him and the only reason why she even had a fling was because she was curious of the experience. Her boyfriend found out because he discovered an email between the two discussing the potential pregnancy but the manager basically accused her of baby trapping him. Of course he left her and the reason why she made contact is because she was under the impression that my wife managed to save our marriage and was desperately seeking advice. I just turned and left and have been staying in the apartment ever since. Date 3. My wife's behavior is absolutely insane and I don't know how to deal with it. Turns out, the former friend who had the pregnancy scare with the manager was indeed pregnant. However, the stress of losing her boyfriend and being humiliated by the affair caused her to lose the baby. She basically turned ballistic and went full scorched earth on the manager. She exposed him to all upper management and his fiancée, who left him. The former friend actually got in contact with me. She wanted my side of the story because she was collecting evidence against him, but she wanted to do it in person and I agreed. From the moment I saw her face I knew she was broken. The dark circles under her eyes and her red-colored iris clearly showed she didn't get any sleep and was haunted by her own thoughts. She thanked me for agreeing to meet her and immediately apologized for her role in my wife's adventure. It turns out her and my wife spoke again and that's when she learned I had moved out. She didn't shift the blame and wanted to take responsibility, hence why she wanted to meet in person. I thanked her for her efforts but asked her why she would go this far. She said losing both a child and the love of her life changed who she was at the core. She said she can hardly look in the mirror without feeling disgust, and she can hardly sleep because all she sees is her ex's face the day he found out. This woman clearly hated herself, and this meeting might have been a form of punishment for her. She tells me since fraternizing among coworkers is a breach of conduct, and more so because he was in a position of influence, he will most likely be fired and possibly blacklisted from that field as a whole, but the same may be true for her as well, and she has accepted it. She left after getting my side of the story and apologized again. I needed to get a few things from the old place, so I picked a time when I thought my wife wasn't home. Unfortunately, she was there, but what surprised me is that she had most of our wedding photos out on the coffee table as well as others, and she was staring at them. When she noticed me, I could see she was crying. She tried to hug me, but I gently pushed her aside. She tried to offer me lunch, but I told her I wasn't hungry and that I wouldn't be long. I just needed a few things. Before I could proceed, she said she had something to show me. She pulled out her phone and showed me a message she received 2 days ago from her former manager who berated her. It was from a new number since she blocked his old one. Apparently my wife helped her former friend expose him to all relevant parties, and he was fuming. She thought by exposing the secret she was removing its power, as well as giving us a fighting chance. I told her I was glad that she had the courage to do that, but it doesn't change anything between us. I also informed her that I will be stopping marriage counseling but will do individual counseling instead. This made her sob softly, and she said she understood. I know I am supposed to feel either relation of the actions taken or rage because it took this long, but I feel numb towards her. This isn't normal, hence why I want to address it in individual counseling and not marriage counseling. I have also seen a divorce lawyer at my brother's recommendation just to be safe. As of now I am not really willing to fight for this marriage, and it seems my wife can sense it. Before I left she tried to initiate intimacy, but when I refused, she yelled and asked what my lover does for me that she can't. She said this in a voice so loud I am sure the neighbors heard. I shook my head and told her if she still couldn't tell after all that's happened, then it's clear where our marriage is headed, and left.